Welcome back to Cards and Comics, and today I'm going to be going over my next PSA sub because I got into the lottery after many tries, and suspiciously the same week I paid for a huge upcharge in my 4-card regular submission, my first one in 4 years, and then the same week I got into the lottery. It's not suspicious at all, but I'll take it because I have a lot of cards to get graded. Now, what I'm going to show you is two things. One is over here on the left hand is the cards I'm actually going to submit. And then here's the other cards I considered. And then here are two CSG cards, and they were in a reveal video. And now I'm going to send them to PSA. So I'm going to break them out of these holders and kind of look at their condition and kind of see how nice they are. Before I sub them and kind of pre-grade them a little bit. Now, what I am going to send in is this, and I'll kind of explain a little bit why. So 99 SP Signature, Ken Griffey Jr. Auto. It doesn't really need a lot of explanation. The only thing I'm worried about here is because I'm not very smart, and I forgot that they upcharge for auto, so I didn't have the auto grade on here because this is the PC card. So I don't know if they're going to charge me more for this card or not, but we'll see. But I got a really good deal on this card, so I'm pretty happy. That's in the that I'm going to finally get it graded. Next up is a red PMG 2017 Deadpool, and I picked this up in Indianapolis from a pretty cool PMG guy. Now, it does have a print line on it, so I'm assuming it's going to, on this side, it's a little hard to see, but I'm assuming it's going to get like an 8. But that's still a pretty good grade, and it's a beautiful color matched card. It's number 99. And, Deadpool is still one of the better characters, with Marvel cards, and I'll talk about it a little bit as I go through the order here, is you have to be careful and be very character selective. I think the days of every character, being worth something is probably over. I don't think we're going to see those days anymore. Next up is again another PC card. This is a 2000. I believe it's 2000. Sorry, it's a 99. I don't know why I can't think straight. I'm getting ready to go to Chile. That's my mind is in that world right now. I'm leaving tomorrow at 12:30. So, but here is the 99 finest gold, and these are numbered out of 100. You can see that right there. And so this one is, PC card. I'm a little worried. So on a pre-grade here, with the protector on, that they get a little, cloudy and a little scratched up a little bit. Just because that's what they're there for, is to prevent the card from being scratched. But PSA will grade the protector. So a lot of times the protector cards grade lower than if you peel them. So I thought maybe I should peel it, but I'm going to grade it with the protector on and just see what I get. I'm afraid of peeling it because I've had bad experience trying to peel cards. After this many years, the protector is very hard to remove in some cards. And you damage the card trying to get that protector off. So next up is a Fleer Brilliance Gold. And so this isn't the like the refractory version. So these are numbered out of 99. And so this is kind of like the mid tier. There's like blue, gold, and I forget the refractor looking one's called, but it's like gold, platinum gold, or something like that. So this is like the mid-level rarity one. One is on eBay right now. I'll see what that one sells for. Pretty rare. This one does have a little bit of a corner issue. I think it's going to grade about a 7, I think, with that corner issue. And we'll see. Hopefully it gets a 7 with that corner. Next up is a big wild card. I don't know what this is. I think it could grade high, but I have no clue what the value of this card is going to be because he's playing really well this year. But, I think he's kind of a little under the radar, but it's Elias Peterson, This is the foil, the speckle, silver speckle, or like I forget what it was. So the way it works in E-Pack, you need 5 young guns to get a silver, and I think you needed 3 silvers to get a speckle. So this is like 15 young guns worth of cards right here, something like that. And so these are pretty, and then his young gun PSA 10s are doing very well. So that is true. And so this card's rare. I should have looked at the pop count, but I know it's low, and I haven't seen one sell in a long time, and that's why I'm getting a PSA holder. So it's a wild card because I think it could grade high. It's a nice card. I think it's at least a 9. But the wild card is just what PSA is going to charge me if it grades a 9. If they're going to upcharge me or not. I think they might. Next is the Cale Makar Canvas Young Guns. These are pretty easy to grade with that thicker kind of cardstock. I would say this is probably close to a 9 or 10. It just depends on the grader, but I don't see any back issues or really anything I would say is a problem with the card. Here's the back of the Elias. So I think it's going to grade high. Again, it's people either love or hate the canvas cards. I think they're cool, especially because they have different photos. But they're not as worth as much as the regular. Okay, Ted Simmons rookie card, 71 Topps. This was an SGC 7.5. This is again honesty time. I'm a little nervous this card's going to get min-sized. Comparing it to other 71s, I think it's a little short side to side. I don't think it's trimmed, but I think it's just cut smaller, a little smaller. I think PSA is super shy right now, gun shy on grading anything short. So, I think this could go from this could be a 7 or 8 all the way down to min size. So I'm a little nervous about that one. I just think that they're very, very critical in those kind of cards right now. And if they're not perfect, if they don't measure perfect, they're just going to min size it and just not take any chances. Early win 49 Bowman rookie card. This is a solid card. Now it was in a 7.5 holder. I went ahead and popped it because I think it's such a solid card. It's got good corners, no damage. It's got a little rough edge on the right, which is great. I think that's makes the card even more desirable because it shows it hasn't been handled much. Still keeping that little rough edge. This card, in my opinion, is at least a 7 and could be an 8. Now, going back a little bit as I look at the cards, some of the rationale when I get to the other cards that I didn't sub is one of the, I sit down and said, okay, well, I have all these cards, I probably have about 500 cards I need to get graded. And how do I, prioritize them? Well, I said this is that the first thing is that if they grade what I think is kind of the grade below what I'm expecting, is it still worth around $250? And you could argue like the Makar definitely if it grades an 8, but I don't think that card's coming back lower than a 9. But everything else on here, it's going to be worth $250. Even if it comes back, cut that part out. Even if it comes back 7s or 8s, so for some of these cards, which a lot of them, even in worst case scenario, is worth that $250 because I'm paying $50 a card to grade, right? And this card definitely, has gone up in value. It's a Hall of Fame rookie, and if it comes back as 7, I'm still doing okay. Next up is a card that I've had for a little while. It's the Doctor Strange out of Jambalaya 2017 Fleur Ultra Spider-Man. Again, if I think this is an 8-ish 9. If it comes back as 7, I'll still do okay on the card. And I think it's really cool. And right now his movie's coming out. Good time to get something graded. Here's a 2013 Human Torch out of EX. out of the retro, and this has got a little back damage. You can see it right there, a little white. So I think this is going to 7, maybe 8, but it's still going to be worth some pretty good money coming out of the 2013 set. And again, these cards were more like case hits than like regular inserts. Now, next up, a card I bought, and I've had it raw for 4 years. Bought it in 2018 at the National. And, a lot of times when I go to the National, I play games with myself. I'll do something like, I'll say, find a super rare back T206 card, like a Drum or a Tolstoy of a Hall of Famer, and buy it. Or, or go out and find, like a Cons Wiener Jim Brown card, and that keeps me kind of looking through people's stuff and searching for stuff. And then if I find it, I'm like, way, I found something cool and fun. A good example of that was I was looking for the 55 Jim Thorpe at the National in 2017, 2018, and got an 8. And I was able to buy that card, and I didn't even really think I'd find one there in that condition, but I found an 8. And I took it home and made a lot of money on that card eventually. But this card was one of these cards where I said, okay, I really have never been lucky getting the Thurman Munson 71 card. So why don't I just grade one myself and take my chances? So this one has never been graded, and the guy, when I looked at it, it was, he thought it was a 7, but obviously it could be a 6. You never know. It's got a little corner edge, little edge wear here. I don't know if it's easy to see in my light. Which is not uncommon. So again, I think this is a 7 or a 6, but either way, even as a 6, it's worth a couple $100. And as a 7, it's a great card. So it's worth the risk, but I bought it for $60 in 2018 raw. So we'll see what we get. Even to give it a 6 on it, I'll still make some good money. Next up is a card I've had for a long time. Came in a T206, I believe a 2 holder. This is an old millback, trees in the background, Chief Bender. It's a really nice card. Good color. The back is not missing any paper. It's old mill, which is one of the harder backs. There you go. As a Chief Bender collector, I've had this for, again, multiple years, just waiting to get graded. So this is going to go in, and obviously, even in a 2 or 3, it'll be worth $250. Now here's another wild card that has no comp. So I took a chance on this card, and it is the Achievements 2019 Marvel Premiere Moon Knight. So you had to get so much of the base set to unlock the Moon Knight card. I believe he is 000. I believe there was 5 of these cards, so he's number 4 zeros. So you had to get so the way it worked is you had to get 1/5 of each. So they broke the base set into 5 chunks. So you had to get 1/5 of each base set. So the first 1/5, the second 1/5. So if you got the 4th 5th of the set, so there's so if there's 100 cards in the set, you had to get 20 to get 1/5. And so this was cards number 80 to 100 or whatever. I don't know, or 60 to 80. It would have been the 4th quadrant of that, or the 4th section of that achievement. So so I really think these are not that common, because you got only one base card in a box, and that box is I want to say it was close to $400. So you had to open a lot of boxes to get a base set. And so I know a lot of people who traded for base cards trying to get the achievements, but they were, the whole Marvel Premiere base set, because they're all numbered, it is kind of to me, it's a low hanging fruit if someone wanted to go out and get a lot of those cards cheap. There's parallels to look at, and I know a lot of people are doing that now as kind of a cheap way to get numbered, cool looking Marvel cards, but these achievements are even lower numbered than those base cards. And if you think about it, the way these work, you could consider these if you wanted a full complete master set, you needed these cards. because there's Deadpool, X-23, Wolverine, Moon Knight. I mean, there's some good characters that they didn't put in the base set that you would want. So unlocking these achievements definitely was cool. So these cards are also different because they're not as thick a cardstock as the regular Premier cards. They're like, instead of like 70 point, they're like 55. They're one step below it. And so I think they actually are in better shape because those thicker cards are so easy to chip and ding up. I think these are actually a little better. Now, wild card number, like 4 here. Now, this is a nice card. Now, it measures well. It's a 71 O-Pee-Chee Pete Rose. It was in a SGC 7 holder. And I think it's a 7 all day long. It's a little off top to bottom, but, if PSA, gives it a straight grade, they could OC it. I'm hoping they don't. I think top to bottom, it has enough there to be within that guidance not to be OC, but hey, PSA is PSA. But this card is extremely rare in a Peachy card. It is one of those cards that you don't see very often. And if it grades straight across, it's no qualifier. It's going to be a huge a win for me and my collection because I love my O-Pee-Chee cards. Hopefully you saw the 71 Ryan O-Pee-Chee I picked up in Indianapolis. That was just a really cool card. I actually went back and got it. So if you watch the video, I actually don't buy it. I go back before I leave and just go ahead and buy it because that was such a cool and rare card. Next up is a credentials, like an essential credentials, King Griffey Jr. And so these cards are numbered out of 299. So I think they have like then and now or something like that. And so this is like the one that was less short printed. I'm trying to get it in the light so you can see the sparklies on it. It's a cool looking card. He's a red, so and these are $2.99. So these are extremely rare or extremely valuable, but I think graded, they're still pretty low pop. But it doesn't matter. Like having the credentials name after a card still creates a lot of value for the card, and people just want these cards because they've got kind of a myth to them. It's a nice card. It's in nice shape. I think this is going to 9 or 10. I think that's the range for that card. Next up is, I'm not going to talk a lot about it because, I talked about the Moon Knight, but this is the Deadpool Achievements card. And I'm taking chances. I'm paying $50 to get graded, hoping that they come back and they're worth more than $250. That's what I'm hoping for. I think Moon Knight and Deadpool are pretty safe characters to bet on. I didn't, and I'll show you some other cards, that I didn't sub. I didn't choose to sub the X-23 because I feel like, not as common or as sought after a character. Next up is Spider Girl. So this is another little bit of a wild card, but this card is sold a lot. So this is, again, I got my credential stuff mixed up. So yeah, this is the more like then and now stuff. So this is like numbered out of 28. So these are fairly low numbered cards. And good color match. It's not the best character. Obviously there's a Spider-Man. It's a no-brainer, but also I couldn't sub it under the $50 sub. It would be a couple $1,000 card. This card has sold pretty well. I think it comes back an 8 or better. And I feel like it's just one of those cards that is so low numbered, it's going to be worth something. A couple $100 minimum. I think it's $400 to $500 card, when everything shakes out. But, who knows? But I think it'll be close to that $250 at the minimum. Now, last but not least, and this is the one I struggle the most with. This is last in the order because if you notice how I put the cards in order, I didn't put them in order based on like age or type of card because I was selecting cards as I went based on, my perception of the card in terms of how much I valued the card and, what I wanted to, get out of the card in terms of money. So, some of the cards were in there because I had a lot of value to me, sentimentally, or there was something I wanted to flip. And so as I got down the list, I kept going into like the last few cards on the list were just like either value or something else. And the something else is like this card. So it's a 69 Pete Rose, not a rare card. It's one of his easier to get cards. I'll show you the back. It's a good card. I mean, this card came out of an SGC 8 holder. I think it's an 8. I think it could maybe be a higher than 8. Could be, and that's why I've got it in here. So if it's 7s, I lose money. I mean, comparatively, there's other cards I could have subbed besides this card that I could have made more money on. For example, a card like, this, Royal Foil Spider-Man. I could have subbed that card, right? And guaranteed that card's $250 or more, right? But, that card also could have got the upcharge, so I'm kind of waiting on that card. But the point is just that, I had some cards that definitely worth $250. The reason why I'm subbing this card is because I want more vintage, and this card has somewhat of a potential to grade higher. Maybe an 8.5, maybe a 9. I'm willing to take a little bit of a risk there to have a card that has some upside potential. Now, what I didn't sub, so, I'll talk about that for a second. What did I not sub? Well, here's some cards that were in the pretty good consideration, but I'll go through why I didn't sub these. One, this Jay-Z Chrome card I picked up at the card show in Albany. When I first looked at this card, I thought this is a no-brainer. If it's a 9, it sells really well. As a 10, it sells crazy. But then I really started looking at the prices, and I realized that some of the 9 sales are a little fishy looking, and really this card does not hold up well if it's under a 10. So this is a 10 or bust card, and I didn't want to just take my first sub to PSA that's kind of more bulkish or lesser value and pin a bunch of 10 or bust type cards. To me, I would rather wait till I had other grading that is available to me a little cheaper to take more chances on a 10 or bust type card like this. Obviously, it's still worth something as a 9, but to me, when I really looked at the pricing, I was like, I'd rather submit something like that Pete Rose card, which to me, fits into my collection and I can move it a little easier. This card has a lot of availability as a PSA 9 as well. Next up was this card is actually very difficult for me to turn down because this was like the card I was really looking at other than the Pete Rose. And this is the second year Billy Williams card. This card just got really low pop because it's a 62 and all 62 tops have low pops. It has a little corner edge. It's a little off center, top to bottom, left to right. But I think it's still a really nice card. This card sells lights out as a 7 or 8. Lights out. Look at the value. I mean, it was hard, but the reason why was because I felt like it didn't have as much upside as the Rose. I think the Rose could, 8+, This card to me is a solid 7, and I don't think it's going to get anything higher than that. So I'm going to hold off on it. And again, it's off center both ways, but it's super crisp. Got good corners, and so I think it's a card that could 7, which is still worth a pretty good chunk of change, but it's not, to me, it could also 6, worst case scenario, and then it really, the value goes down. Now this card I've had for a while, and I've been wanting to sub it, and I just haven't, and it is the 74 O-Pee-Chee Dave Parker. Now I've got the Dave Winfield. I need the Dave Parker. As a pirate collector, this card is really cool. This is a very nice card. It's got a little bit of corner damage when I looked at it. And that's the reason why I didn't sub it. It's got kind of a little bit of a fuzzy on a corner down here. I don't know if you can see it. It's not bad. I mean, I'm not saying like this card won't, yeah, you can see a little, I don't know if you can see it too well. I mean, my camera sucks, but, it's got a little bit on each of these bottom corners. So this card might 7, which is still an awesome grade for a 74 PG card because they're just super, super tough. Next up is it's a Bruner Bread or General Baking, Chief Meyer, just a tough card. It's probably like a PSA 1 or 2, and it's just a really tough pre-war card. And again, it's going to go into a sub later on. And then the rest of these cards were probably just sitting around, a Cunha Silver, a Refractor, a Trout, Chrome, these hockey cards, Bobby Orr, 71 O-Pee-Chee, All-Star, Gordie Howe, 71 Topps. The problem with these cards is that they have to really grade high. And if they grade a 7, they're basically not $250 cards. Again, Jim Palmer rookie card, but it's not it's like a PSA 4 condition. Anina Slaughter, again, these cards aren't in high enough demand or value wise to really. This card probably could have been 59 Brooks Robinson, but it'll go into some other subs. This is again an O-Pee-Chee Billy Williams card. So again, I got some O-Pee-Chee cards here I want to send in. Brooks Robinson. This is Native American card, and then this Ernie Banks I've submitted like before. It came back mid size, so I'm gonna. I keep trying to thinking one day it's gonna go in, but yeah, I mean those are some of the other cards, and now the rest of the cards I was gonna look at were basically Marvel cards, and I'll walk through them real quickly with you because green PMGs are still valuable. This is a 101, the black, but it's got a lot of corner damage to it because again these really thick cards are easy to do that. So I don't know if it's worth grading this card. I mean, it's a 101. Just some, again, Jambalayas, your Scarlet Witch. That's going to be worth grading one of these days. Here's the X23. Here's the Royal Foil Venom. And again, this is a number to 99 one. So it's not the rarest one, but still worth some money. So again, the reason why I didn't sub these is because of a lot of reasons. One is, like this, Miles Morales Spider-Man card. This card's numbered out of 100. It's got a little bit of corner damage, so I think it's going to 8. And the sales on it are kind of all over the place, so I'm going to wait a little bit. This Venom, this red, the reds are numbered to 30. I think that's still worth grading eventually. Then here's some other cards. So here is some silver Young Guns, Capo Caco, and Nick Suzuki. And again, I think they're worth grading, but it's just I feel like some of them are a little weak right now with the playoffs. So I think it's one of those things where the Peterson to me was a no-brainer. The Makar, these are lower in the totem pole. I wanted to get some other cards in there. Now this autograph here, again, I'm going to do an autograph sub separately with PSA at one point coming up. So I'm going to hold back all my other autos until I do that sub. It's got a ton of Mike Trout and other autos. And the rest of these were just mostly Marvel Premier cards that were numbered or of good characters. Captain America blue, Spider-Man blue. There's a Wolverine. And then again, I'm keeping the autos and doing a special auto sub. Here's a blue, Iron Man. A red Hulk, a blue Wolverine, a blue Captain America, a blue, Spider-Man. So these will eventually go, but I'm going to let the market kind of settle a little bit and see what they're worth, because again, I think PSA is going to come back with some sort of crazy deal in the future at some point for everyone who's had their, all their orders kind of like held forever. I think they're going to do some sort of grading special at some point when they get really caught up. And I'm going to submit some of these cards like this. It's a blue. I believe blues are numbered to 50. So, like, it's worth something, but I'm just think for 50, it's still a little high maybe, because that might be $100 or $200 card, right? So, and then again, the PMG Wolverine. Wolverine's a great character, but I still think that there was other cards a little more valuable. And then this is just autograph. I'm waiting on those. Now, the two cards here, I'm going to try to bust open. I've never opened these slabs, so now I just opened a ton of SGC slabs, like 5 SGC slabs to do the cards that most of the vintage cards came from SGC card slabs at one point. The 71 Thurman definitely did not. So I'm going to see how easy it is. So I opened up all those SGC slabs with just a butter knife. So we will see if I can do the same thing with, and because I'm looking for the lip here where the two parts meet to see if I can get some purchase. Oh no. Disaster. All right, so I figured out the technique. So I took a pair of pliers and I just bent this corner and broke it off. So that's step one. You can see I got the top of the Aaron off so we can get to the card. Then the hard part is you got to get the screwdriver in the holder, just like you heard it cracking. Sorry, I wasn't on screen for that, but there. You got to get this in the holder. Start cracking the holder open. And it's super tight, so it's hard to do. I'm shaking the whole thing, trying to... There you go. There it starts to pop. And then you kind of got to just work it around, just like, with the butter knife SGC. And, as I work it around, so I'm opening it, holding it with my fingers, just moving the knife, removing the screwdrivers. It's hard because the way this holder works, it doesn't create a clean edge. So there's these little Sharpies, and so as you move it through, you have to be careful because you just can't move the screwdriver in a smooth fashion down the holder. So as I keep working it around, really you need to get to the corners, because the corners is where you can pop a lot of the holder open. If you get that corner popped, like I just did, then the whole thing kind of is a lot easier to open. So on this one, I am using a screwdriver instead of the butter knife. I like the butter knife because it's got more of an angled edge, a beveled edge. And it's a little easier for me to control when I'm doing this, because obviously you don't want to damage the holder. And finally it popped open there. So there you go. Pop that corner, and then yeah, so I've got both cards just kind of laying here now in the holder. And again, when you look at this holder, you can see these, like right here, there's a little edge to it. You can see the little edges on here. So as you're working your way through there, those little, I guess they're almost tabs. You can see them on there. Those little, that creates it harder to work that knife around to pop them. I don't know if that was a design choice to make it harder, or is that to give it more stability? I don't know. But they're definitely hard to open. I'd rate them number 2 behind BGS. BGS, you really need a Dremel to get those things open without... You can use a similar technique for BGS. Pop the corner and work the knife through. And to kind of get the edges out. But the problem with those holders is that... when you do that initial pop on BGS, you might want to wear some safety goggles, because that thing goes flying usually, and I've almost had my eye taken out from a flying piece of plastic from a BGS holder, because it takes a lot of pressure to pop those holders open. I'm slicing my sleeves here, and it's just something that I think that's why I don't like popping BGS holders. So I got the 2 cards open now, and so we'll start with this Willie Mays card. And when I first looked at it, I thought it was the nicer of the 2. So looking at that, top to bottom, it looks pretty good. Left to right, it's in the tolerance. I don't see anything there. 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 So it looks like a pretty clean card. Trying to see the light to see if I can see creases. Back is good. So all in all, it looks like a good card. I don't feel like I'm going to have any issues with this card. I mean, I'm hoping to get an 8 on it. If it gets a 7, it's still okay, not into the world for that, but not, what you wanted. And, I think that's, you get into the to grading, and, there is a monetary component to this. And for what I paid for this card, a 7 still does okay. If it comes back an 8, though, I definitely have done okay, with this product, with this card. So it goes into the saver. yeah, getting cards into the saver is always the most harrowing experience for me. Getting everything ready to go for a PSA order, because I just feel like I'm going to damage the card by just finagling it into the middle bottom of that holder. There you go. Nice 72 me. So I think that card is a good card. Now here's the card I'm worried about. So let me pull it out of here. Little pieces of plastic on the back. So the back looks good. So let's, I'll let you see the back. No issues. It's centered. The issue for this card comes right up here in this corner. You'll see it right there. You're right there. You see that corner come up? Right there. Oh no, focus. Right there. See that? If that would quit, maybe I take the auto. Right there. That's bad, guys. That's bad. Oh my god, it's worse than... Yeah, that when I saw this on the card when I first bought it. And I got it, and I should have probably returned it. I mean, if I wanted to do a video like this, I wanted to see, how they grade. And the rest of the card is beautiful. This card is super pack fresh, but now that I'm looking at the other corner, if I can get my autofocus to quit messing around with me. If I can get this other corner to come in. It's got a little damage on it too. Yeah. There you can see it right there. Right there. Right there. So, and I didn't damage it come out of the holder for anyone who thinks I did. I knew it was there when I bought the cards, and in fact, when I did the reveal video, I did say something about there was something going on in the upper right edge. I could see it, but it wasn't quite as bad as once I popped it out of there. So I don't know how they grade this card at 7.5, honestly. This card, if I was going to guess, coming out of PSA, let's say I can, take a sleeve or something and just kind of push it down a little bit. I can feel it right here. I mean, I can feel that edge going up. I mean, there's nothing you can do to make this edge any better. I mean, it is not good. That is not a good edge. I mean, I think this card could 5. And I'll still send it in, so I'm paying $50 for this card. It's a 7.5 from CSG. And I don't know how you miss an edge that bad. Now, so could it be the old SGC issue where once they put in the holder damaged it? Like, that could have happened. Their holders are tight. When I pop that thing open, there's not a lot of room in that well for that card to move around, which is probably a good thing. But if it's super tight, could that pressing onto that top to that holder caught that edge and bent it? Because the card was a slightly bigger card than another card that they're used to. I mean, all that could happen, right? But the bottom line is the card's damaged. It's not ever going to be normal. This isn't like comic books. I can press that corner back down. You're going to always see that damage. And so unfortunately, this card is going to probably grade between a 5 and a 6. Is what I'm going to predict. And that's not great. It's not great at all for what I got into it. Because, it went from being if it was a 7, maybe $150 card, to probably a $40 to $50 card. So it's probably not even going to be a card that will pay for the grading submission, and it's all said and done. But I think this is why we do it. But this is my prediction, and who knows? PSA may see it different. PSA may give it a 6, and then I still make a little money on the card. It's just disappointing, again, this isn't like a trimming issue. This is just bad grading. That You know, that card should never be that damaged in a 7.5 holder. So disappointing in that card. I knew something was going on with it, but I didn't know it was quite that bad. So yeah, that's going to be a rough one when I go to see that grade. So yeah, bummed about it, but hey, you know, I am happy because I do own this card in an 8.5 and this card in an 8. So I do have these cards already graded. So it's not like they're like parts of my main collection that, you know, it's going to really kill me. You know, like if that was a Clemente, for example, I needed for my set, and I bought it really hoping to cross it over to at least get, you know, the 7, not the 7.5, and it comes back at 5 or 6. You know, that's a bad day in the office for anyone. As a collector, that really really sucks, especially if you're collecting cards in a certain grade range. So there it is, guys. That's my next PSA order. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.